So I'm here in Union Station in downtown Kansas City, and I'm going to meet with Ed. Ed is from Houston, Texas. He actually runs a channel about Kansas City, and he agreed to sit with me and talk with me about the differences from Houston to Kansas City. So let's hear what Ed has to say. So I'm here with Ed. Ed runs a Instagram,
Yes.
YouTube channel called New to KC,
Yes.
right? And Ed, you're from Houston, Texas.
H-Town.
That's
Missouri,
right.
Missouri City, Texas, to be exact.
Okay,
So,
Missouri City, is that a suburb of Houston?
It is southwest side of Houston.
Okay.
So no.
And you've been here in Kansas City for how long?
4 years overall.
4 years.
2019, 2020, moved here in October 22 and been here ever since.
Okay. Okay. So what brought you here? Why
Yes.
did you move?
So the first time I moved in 2019, I got an opportunity to work for Kansas football. Crazy story.
Like the Jayhawks.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So I'm getting fired at my alma mater, University of Houston. Shout out to the people who fired me, but I knew we were gonna get fired. And literally, I was talking to a student athlete, and I was like, I'm about to get fired. And once I said the word fire, I get a call, 785 area code, says Lawrence, Kansas, and it says, hey, we heard you're the guy for the job. I'm like, yes, I am. I'm gonna call you back in 30 minutes. I gotta get fired first. And so I get fired. My wife actually is from Kansas City.
Okay.
So she was excited. We got here because she was from Kansas City and I worked in Lawrence. We lived in the Shawnee, Lenexa area for 2
Okay.
years.
Yeah.
So I got to experience the KCK suburb side.
Yep.
And so that was my first time when I got here. And then getting here in 2022, I was at another university. I was tired of moving around. We had a kid on the way. And so we were looking at places to settle.
Yeah.
And it was either Houston or Kansas City. But I'm not gonna lie, when I first moved to Kansas City in 2019, I was like, Kansas City ain't got nothing on Houston, blah, blah, blah. But I found a good community, I found some great people, and I ended up loving Kansas City. And so we moved back, and we've been here ever since, and it's been a joy, honestly.
Same area, Lenexa area.
No, so we're in the South Kansas City side on Missouri, so the Grandview, Lee Summit area.
Grandview. So that's where you are now.
Yeah,
Okay.
Lee Summit area.
So you have the interesting perspective of somebody who's lived in both Kansas and Missouri.
Yes, I have.
Okay, so once and for all, settle the debate. Which one is better?
Well, I can tell you which one is easier to get your car registered. It's Kansas, definitely, because Missouri is tripping right now.
Okay.
So you all from Texas. Biggest thing for me moving from Texas is the state tax, income tax.
Yeah.
That you get taxed on stuff. But if I had to choose which side I've liked more, I've enjoyed the Missouri side more.
Okay.
Yeah. I've enjoyed
Okay.
the Missouri side.
I know that's a big debate for people
Right.
who are calling the channel, calling me and saying, hey, which side should I move on? I just talked to a client this morning and he was just like, which one's better, Kansas or Missouri? And I'm like, well, it depends on kind of what you want.
Right.
Right? But what would you say the main differences, besides registering a car, were between Kansas and Missouri?
So for me, living in Houston, I had seen diversity my entire life.
Yeah.
There's just a little more in Missouri. There is some in Kansas too, but just a little more in Missouri.
More diversity?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Kansas is awesome though. I will say this, where we live, there's great school districts,
Yeah.
great restaurants.
Yeah.
I would say this will probably be a little hot topic. I enjoy the food a little more on the Kansas side.
Oh, really? Okay.
Even though they're right next to each other.
Interesting. Yeah.
But there's great places in Missouri as well.
Yeah.
It was, so that was pretty cool. But you get more of the Kansas City feel in Missouri,
Yeah.
It's
Almost intangible. It's
Right.
like it feels more like Kansas City. Here, I mean, we're in Missouri
Right.
now in Union Station.
Right.
And like in Kansas, I always get criticized. I get criticized sometimes on my video and saying sometimes Kansas is boring.
Yeah.
But do you feel that I'm accurate?
I have found myself doing more things that I like doing on the Missouri side.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially so specifically when we talk about suburbs. So growing up in Houston, suburb life is this. But like the suburbs in Kansas, it kind of feels like, Kansas City is there, but you're in the suburb.
Okay.
Like living in South KC on the Missouri side, it's like, yeah, we're in the suburbs, but Kansas City is right there. You still feel more attached to the actual Kansas City metro area. So
Yeah.
it's kind of weird to discuss, as you know, because they're literally right next to each other.
Right.
Now, if you're in KCK, then that's different. But I feel like if you're more in the suburbs of Kansas, it gets a little more like you know, your Olathe, Overland Parks. It's more like those
Suburban, very kind of, yeah,
right. Like this
very
is
kind of
our
cookie cutter.
yeah,
Hmm.
and so that's what I noticed.
Yeah. A lot of people will call me and ask about the crime.
Yeah,
Somebody who's lived in both,
yeah.
how would you compare them?
So the crime here for me is just kind of like so living in Houston as well. Houston's a bigger city, so you're going to see more crime.
Okay.
But the similarity of both cities to me is kind of like the foolishness of the crime. Like what that's avoidable.
Yeah.
One thing that I learned, my wife learned this moving to Houston. Like in Houston, you have to. I don't care. You could literally be in the nicest neighborhood ever. You have to put stuff in the trunk. You know, laptop, backpack. And I do it here too, but her being from Kansas City and having to learn that in Houston kind of shows me that Houston's a little more, what it is. I think the other thing too, what I've realized as far as crime here is it's very centrally located to certain areas. Where in Houston, you can have, like, the crime is not only in the certain area of Houston, it's more around the entire city and different suburbs.
Interesting. Okay. So you might say crime in Houston is a little bit more unpredictable.
Correct.
Like, whereas we did a crime in Kansas City video and we looked through the crime maps and it's like south of the river in like the middle kind of strip. Once you get out to Lee Summit, it's not that bad.
Right.
Once you get up north, it's not that bad. Once you get out to the Kansas side, Johnson County, it's not that bad. But in Houston, it's kind of like it could pop up
you can
anywhere.
Yeah, anywhere. Like legit anywhere.
Really?
And that's a great observation by you. Like legit, Houston is just like you have to be like
On guard.
everywhere because it just kind of it can follow you in Houston. So
Yeah.
and there's so many pockets of areas. So if you looked at a crime map in Houston, I mean it's kind of red in a lot of different places.
Interesting. Yeah. And I mean, we're downtown right now.
Right.
And it's like there was that horrible tragedy when that lady lost her life at the Super Bowl parade. But as far as right now, we come down here all the time, and I feel like downtown is pretty safe. I don't know how much you've done down here.
I've been down here a lot. I actually like coming down here. So growing up in Houston, they're starting to revive downtown, but downtown in Houston was one of those areas you really didn't, you kind of just kept away from. Because honestly, growing up, the Rockets basketball arena was off the highway, wasn't downtown. The Astros and the Oilers, growing up, they weren't downtown as well.
Okay.
And so when they move down, now the Astros are downtown, now the Rockets are downtown. They're trying to revive downtown, but for most of my, kind of high school to young adult life, we really didn't touch downtown. You go to other places in Houston. So I've always enjoyed cities where there's a vibrant downtown. So I really love coming to Kansas City because there's so much to do downtown. Like I enjoy it because it's a lot different than what I grew up. Now Houston is rebuilding their downtown. There are things that they're doing, but overall, downtown here is a lot better. Like you say, I like coming down here. We bring the kids down. Crown Center's over there. There's different things to do. So
yeah. So comparably, would you say that there's more things to do here, or is it compared to Houston, more things to do in Kansas City downtown, or is it just, for me, there's definitely more things coming from Los Angeles. There's definitely more things to do in the Los Angeles downtown.
Right.
It's just harder to get to. Like you have to sit in traffic and you have to fight traffic before you could even enjoy any of the things that downtown has to offer. Would you say it's the same for Houston, or there's just legitimately more things here in downtown than Houston downtown?
It's just more things here in downtown.
Really?
Downtown.
Interesting. Right. I would never have expected that.
Yeah. Now Houston, it is growing. So there's different parades, different events, but a lot of these events, they'll go midtown, they'll go uptown, they'll go, they'll go different pockets of the city, or they'll be in the suburbs, or the Third Ward, which is a little it's a historically black area, residence area where the University of Houston's at, which I love. They'll do stuff in there. So there's like wards. Houston has, I want to say 8 wards. So we kind of know the city by wards, and the most populous or the Third Ward. There's other stuff.
Is that like a suburb, a ward?
It's like a
county.
It's weird. It's like a county inside the city per se. So it's all Harris County.
City. Okay.
It would be like so for lack of a better word, it'd be like the boroughs in New York, but like minimized. So it's just there's slices of the city. I think it's 8. I might be wrong. Anybody from Houston, correct me in the I just know the ones I always was in was third and fifth. The Dirty Nickel, which I kind of didn't stay in too much because of the Dirty Nickel.
The Dirty Nickel.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
what a name.
That's where George Foreman's from.
Okay, cool.
But so you have these wards, first, second, third, and they just they do a lot of events there. So, but like central downtown,
Yeah.
they're starting to do more. So they're rebuilding it. So like in the last 10 to 15 years, they're doing that. So even like there's a place in Houston called Edo, East Downtown.
Okay.
That used to be just like, it looked like, for people in Kansas City, it looked like what West Bottoms is now.
Okay.
And they redid it. They put the Dynamo Stadium there. They put a lot of stuff there, and they kind of
Wow.
redid that. But that's even East Down. They do stuff there, but like downtown, it's getting better, but a lot of events are different areas.
Talk about the people, like Houston, Kansas City,
Right.
the people as you're coming. I mean, we talked about the events and the activities, but a lot of people ask me, hey, how are the people like in the Midwest, specifically in Kansas City? You've been to both sides.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about that in comparison to Houston?
Yeah, the big thing for me that shocked me moving up here was like, because we're big on, Southern charm or like Southern hospitality in Houston.
Yeah.
And I got introduced to Midwest hospitality here. I think in Houston, the people, very helpful, very, keep to themselves. I always tell people, they're like, what will keep me? I just don't start nothing in Houston. You'll be okay. But people in Houston are very friendly, very helpful. Like I said, a super diverse group of people. And even where I grew up, Missouri City, Sugar Land, I think Sugar Land might be the most diverse, like, city or area in the country.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of different. I grew up listening to people speak different languages, and so there's a lot of acceptance of many cultures there. But good people. Kansas City, the Midwest hospitality, I like as well. My neighbors, they're very, very nice. If I put the trash out and I'm getting busy, I'm gonna go out and take the trash. My neighbor will literally walk into the door. I had to get snow up, that is an entire workout. But one of my neighbors was like, hey, I'll help you. I grew up in Wisconsin. Like, I was looking like, that day it snowed like 6 inches, 7 inches.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God. So just like that as well, similar to Houston people will help you. I know when the hurricane hit, unfortunately, in I think it was 17, that was 2016. 2016, when Hurricane Harvey hit, 2017, Hurricane Harvey hit. It was just, it was a lot. Seeing people help, everybody help. I went to help people. I mean, we're just randomly going to people's houses we don't know, helping them. Seeing, J.J. Watt help out with all that. So,
wow, yeah.
Hospitality is the same in both areas. I miss the, Houston's got a different culture, like a rap culture that's kind of like infused into the entire city. So like there's certain, like you could go to a boardroom and hear something and people be like, oh my goodness. Like, so I kind of miss that Houston culture, slang, stuff like that.
Yeah. So,
overall, both people are great.
So overall, that you'd say in Houston, there was more of like a commonality with either rap or something like that
Right.
tied the diverse wards together.
Yes.
And you don't necessarily see that in Kansas City as much. Could I say that? Or?
So Kansas City, outside of now, I will say this: Houston. If you go to Houston, the culture of Houston is very. I don't even know how to explain it, but there's like everybody knows who Mike Jones is. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Okay. And is he a local rapper?
He is.
Okay.
And everybody knows, 281-330-8004, right? I don't know if everybody in Kansas City knows who Tech Nine is.
Got it.
And
Got it, yeah.
maybe they do. Maybe I'm underestimating. They probably know him for the Red Kingdom song.
Yeah.
Because it's a great Chiefs anthem.
Yep.
But like overall, like there's like people in Houston know Mike Jones's songs, lyrics. It's kind of embedded. So when first time my wife went to a University of Houston football game when I was still a high school coach, she was just like shocked. Like the conversations that were being had between, like different groups of people. Like,
Really? So it's all races. It's not just a certain.
yeah, like it was just like I'm saying slang. He understand it.
Huh.
We all just kind of. It was a thing. She's like, I have never seen this in my life. I was like, welcome to Houston. So
Yeah. What's the thing that you maybe miss most about Houston
Oh, the
compared
food.
to here?
The food.
Food?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you can just air your opinion.
yeah,
Is the food better in Houston than here?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
What makes it better? Diversity,
The-
quality of barbecue. I know there's a big debate.
So I will get on barbecue.
Okay.
Houston to me is one of the best food cities in in the country, maybe even the world.
I mean, I say this all the time about Los Angeles too.
Yeah.
So people know. Like
Yeah.
people know. Like I think there's good Kansas City food here, but if you're coming from, you can have the best of everything
Absolutely.
right on the street corner. It's hard to be like, all right, the best Thai place is 15 minutes away now.
Correct.
Whereas like I could have Thai food like that 5 minutes away.
Correct.
You know, so
I agree. I agree with that, and I saw that in one of the videos you made. I was like, yes, that's so true. Because, for instance, I love Asian food. I love
Yeah.
Vietnamese food.
yeah.
And it's like, man, I gotta, like you said, here, let's jump in the car, and go 25 minutes. We're back in the house. Like, I mean, there's a restaurant in Missouri City. There's one in Sugar Land if I want to go there. If I want to go to Stafford, there's one. There's one downtown.
And they're all good.
They're all good. And
Yeah.
so I miss that, and just like that authentic aspect. I didn't realize how much Mexican food I ate until I moved here, because I was like, yo, where's my, it was just tough to find it.
Do you head to KCK for your Mexican food, or?
Yeah, so I have, that is consensus of everybody. They say go to KCK.
How's that compare with the Mexican food in Houston? Same, better, worse?
It's there. It's good. Houston's just different. Like I tell you, you can go into a gas station in Houston. Like literally, and people think this is a crazy thing. You can go to a gas station, fill up your truck, go there. Hey, can I get a couple breakfast tacos? Like when I worked at KU, I was in Lawrence. I said, where do we get breakfast tacos? And people were like, what? I'm like, breakfast tacos, like. And I'm explaining to them like what a breakfast. And I'm like, what?
And
like,
they just had no clue.
No clue. Like thought it was or kolaches. I don't know if you know what kolache.
I don't know what a kolache is. What is it?
Wow.
Tell me.
So kolache is I want to say it's Polish, but it's kind of started in Texas. It's like bread. It would be like a donut or bread with meat in it.
Okay.
And so like kolaches, we have like bread with sausage. It can be bread with eggs and bacon. It can be bread with
Like a calzone? Not really?
Not really. It's so. Let me try and imagine a burger bun that wrapped the entire burger.
Okay.
And you just bit into this bun, this bread, and the burger was inside. So yeah, there's Kolache Factory in Kansas City. It was crazy. I was at a event, and this dad was like, "What is this? This is incredible." I was like, "Oh, it's kolache."
Mm-hmm.
And they're just like, "A what?" Like my players make fun of me. A collage? What is that? But like, there's like places. To your point, you just ride on the side of the road. There's kolaches everywhere. Every donut place in Houston has kolaches.
Okay.
And
So it was like a thing that
Oh
everybody.
yeah, absolutely. And so
Yeah.
that, and then barbecue. So barbecue is different in Texas because here there's a lot of sauce used, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
But Texas, we're all about the meat. Like it's like I don't eat a lot of barbecue with sauce unless I'm like, oh, let me try the sauce. And so I have to go to places and be like, hey, can you put the sauce on the side?
Okay.
And we
So
take
don't
the
just glop it on there. Just
right.
I would
Some
want to.
places, yeah. We want to take in Texas. You just take it off the grill. You eat the meat, then you add if you need to.
Is there like a rub?
Some people do rub, but it's straight up like meat.
It's just meat.
It's just straight meat, like just
Seasoned?
yes. But it's just like you don't even think about sauce. And so like when people are like, where's the sauce? People kind of, now do we have barbecue sauce? Yes, but it's more like a accessory, like.
Yeah.
So barbecue sauce in Texas is like whenever I go get sushi to go, and there's like the ginger and I think it's wasabi. That's what it is like.
Okay.
Or like if you get a burger and they put ketchup in your bag, like that's kind of how it is.
Okay. So it's a side thing
Right.
if you want to enhance the flavor.
Correct.
But the thing is still good without it. But you're saying in Kansas City the barbecue is wetter, like they
Yeah.
automatically dump the sauce on there,
Right.
and then it's just.
And the hardest thing for me here has been finding brisket. So I came up on brisket really, really late. Like when I was like 24, I was like, yo, this is awesome. And that is like I'm talking like thick brisket. Like I went to a place here, which won't be named, and I was like, have a brisket sandwich. So I'm getting excited. And it's like, it was shaved beef. I'm like, that's not brisket. Like in brisket, Texas is thick. It hangs over your finger. And so
Okay.
I found a couple of places that do it like Texas. And there's this one guy on Instagram. I need to follow him because he cuts it like we do in Texas. So I need to go check him out. But that's tough. So
Yeah.
like, I like brisket. So in Texas, you can find the best brisket I ever tasted in Texas was from another teacher, Mr. Self. He just would cook it whenever we had to grade papers, and I'm like, this is incredible. Like so.
Okay. So you miss the food
Yes.
in Houston. What do you not miss? What do you say it's
Oh.
better here than in Houston?
So I did traffic. I do not miss the traffic. I was literally just in Atlanta this past weekend, and just seeing traffic again, like some people here are like, oh, this is traffic. I'm like, y'all, this is not traffic. This is a slowdown. Like,
Yeah.
this is not traffic.
Yeah, you're still going like 25
Correct.
or 45.
Right.
Yeah.
I have literally on one hand, I could count how many times I've been in traffic. Like 2 on K10 going to Lawrence, where literally we went one lane and we literally didn't move. One time in downtown because of a wreck.
Yeah.
Like literally 5 times.
Yeah.
In Houston, like I had to tell my wife
It's every day.
every day. And leaving 5 minutes, I would tell my wife, she would always want to give me like a work prayer, like before I went to work. I was like, hey, that 5 minute prayer, like literally I can go from 10 minutes ahead of time to that 5 minutes. I could be 25 minutes late.
Yes.
And it's just like, so I don't miss that. I don't miss the heat and the mosquitoes. So,
Worse there?
oh, it's terrible.
Really?
The heat is unreal. Like, people here, when I moved here and I was working in football, everybody's like, oh, the humidity of Kansas is, I'm like, yo, have you ever been to Houston, Texas? Like, I do not miss that. So we had one hot week last year in the summer. It was
In
hot.
August.
Yeah.
It was hot.
Yeah.
It was hot.
So
Yeah.
that week, I was like, okay, that's hot.
Yeah.
But that 1 week, even my wife said this when we were here, she's like, that is literally, she's telling her family, that's a summer. That's July in Houston. Like,
Oh, boy.
and maybe some August. That's maybe 6 weeks of that.
Yeah.
And it was hot, and it was just like, oh, wow. Like,
But I bet maybe the winters are nicer down there.
oh, absolutely.
They're not.
Yeah, they don't drop under 30.
Yeah.
This year it dropped under to 19. I was talking to my mom, but that's like rare.
Okay.
It's like 3 weeks of winter, like
Yeah.
if you want to call it winter.
Yeah. So it's pretty tropical. Is
Oh,
that
absolutely.
kind of what they call it?
Yeah,
Tropical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's hot 10 months of the year.
Man. Well, that's awesome. Kind of last question I wanted to ask you. I find this such a weird question, but I had 3 people, 3 separate days call me and ask, is Kansas City racist? Like, you come from a place that you said is super diverse.
Right.
All sorts of people, right? And then you being a black man, like, what has your experience been here, living here twice, both on the Kansas side, both on the Missouri side? I wouldn't have never thought to ask this question
Right.
as a person moving here to Kansas City, but I just have a lot of people asking it.
Yeah, you know,
I don't know. So yeah, what do you think, man?
So I would say if you're coming from a place that's more diverse,
Yeah.
it will take people time to like figure out like why you're there. Like, so
Okay.
even moving to a neighborhood, it's like, hey, the first question is like, what do you do? It's like, you know, in Houston, maybe like, hey, what's your name?
Yeah.
Like, hey,
Yeah.
how long you been here? If you need any help, you know? And so it's not, I wouldn't say it's overtly. I think people are just not used to
Okay.
other cultures, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Because it's a lot more homogenous
right,
here.
right, absolutely.
Yeah.
It is like, and even when I say diverse in Houston, I'm talking like not just like, oh, it's a lot of black people there. Like, no, it's diverse.
Yeah,
It's
all sorts of people.
All sorts of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So here you come. Kansas City is very heavy black and white.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh wow, like that was like culture shock to me. Like, oh, it's now. Do I meet people and I find out? Oh, okay, there are. But like coming from Houston, where, I mean, you go to the grocery store, you're hearing 8 languages, you know.
Okay.
And so it's been different. I'm very careful with my kids and who they hang around with, and I'm very attentive to like what people say. So I'm always trying to figure out like, I'm a bigger guy, right? So it's always like, does he play for the Chiefs or like, what is it?
Do you
Like,
get asked
right?
that?
No.
Okay.
I get looks.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
you could kind of tell.
Yeah.
You walk into a room and
Yeah.
I bank here, so like there's a Chiefs car, so they're like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
But overall, it's been pretty good for me. But my wife has told me there are certain places that it is, you know, a little like,
She'll get different looks.
yeah, like for instance, when we moved here, she's like, we're not going to North Kansas City.
Really?
Yeah.
North Kansas City, the city, or just north of the river?
Just kind of the city and north of the river. Like,
Wow.
they haven't had great experiences there. I mean, unfortunately, I remember this. I think the story went national. The
guy who was
man
shot
looking for
right
his
through
brother, shot him.
Yep. Uh-huh.
And so that's
Yeah.
that. I haven't had any experiences. It is different. It will be a culture shock to people.
Coming from more diverse.
Right.
It makes sense because these people who are calling me, a lot of them are moving from Los Angeles.
Right.
I actually do have somebody moving from like maybe Vegas. I don't know
Absolutely.
the diversity of
Right,
Vegas.
right.
I would assume it's more diverse than here.
Yeah.
But they're always asking, and they're always people of color. I had, you know, an Asian couple asking me. I had a mixed couple asking me, and they were just kind of like, hey, is Kansas City racist? And for my wife and I, we never really thought of that, but
Right.
being an Asian couple here, I mean, we definitely are in the minority, whereas compared to Los Angeles, there's a lot more Asian people. This is not to say that there are no Asian people right now. In fact, I see an Asian family walking into Science City right now.
Right.
So it's not to say that, but it's interesting to always hear different people's perspective. Like I would have never thought, okay, you don't want to go to North Kansas City because of what happened with Ralph Yarl. And that is an interesting perspective, and I think a valid one once you kind of consider everything. You know?
Yeah, and the big thing for me is like, I worked in education
Yeah.
for 6 years. Well, I guess college too, for 12 years.
Yeah.
And you look at schools administration, you look
Sure.
at school boards, you look at, and you're like, I mean, it's some high schools where we live. I'm like, yo, or like I've had interviews at places like, oh wow, like there's no black person or person of color that could do any of these jobs.
Sure.
Like,
Okay.
and it's crazy because it's like, oh, it's so diverse. When you look at places or positions of power, it's like, wow, like it. And so for me, I have to keep my ears up, like because I know when I was in school, like if there's a proportionate black kids, that they're more likely to be placed in special education, they're more likely
Okay.
to get written up, things like that. So I'm very mindful. Thankfully, we have some great teachers
Yeah.
in the school district we're in Lee Summit. But yeah, it's just like, I think it's the leadership is kind of what blows you away, because like you are like coming from Los Angeles, you're used to seeing people in certain positions. So like,
Yeah.
you know, it's interesting. But I will say it is growing. I'm starting to see. I actually go to church is very diverse. I really like it. And but it is growing, but it is different. It is, because it's like people walk by us and say, why are they sitting together? Like, you know, we're like, and maybe because there's a camera, maybe because but like, you know, consciously somebody might be like, hey, you know, why are they sitting together? We're in Houston, it's just like, oh, okay, they getting coffee, you know, or Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
whatever.
Okay.
So it hadn't been anything bad.
Overt, maybe.
Right, overt.
But
I have heard some stuff. I know someone who, you know, their daughter was told she can't swim and didn't know how to swim because she was black. Like,
Wow.
That was said to her at a young age. We're talking under 10.
wow.
And so it's just
Okay.
like, you know, so that's not good, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's super helpful stuff to know. So thanks for just being candid about
problem.
the pros and cons of living here. I'm sure. Would you ever move back to Houston?
Ooh. So one thing I've come to love here is the seasons. Not a big fan of winter, but I love fall. Like I love fall here.
I also love this time when it's like the leaves are starting to bud.
Yeah, getting in spring.
Ooh, I love this. It's kind of cold today, but you know, like when it's nice.
Spring.
Yeah.
I don't know. I lived there for 30 years, and when you live in a city like Houston, everybody tells you it's big, and you know it's big living there. But until you move away,
Yeah.
and then you're like, holy smokes, it's just too much. Like,
Yeah.
the common joke on social media is you could drive an hour, and it's probably the same thing in Los Angeles. You could drive an hour and still be in Houston, Texas. So family's there, so that's always an option. But I just, there's certain, like I said, the traffic, the heat, it's just a lot that I'm like, I don't have to deal with it here, you know? Like,
Yeah.
So maybe later in life, but I really like it. My kids like it here. My wife loves it here. It's a great city, great culture, great sports town. I get to meet people like you. We connected. So I really like it.
That's awesome, Ed. Well, thanks, man, for
No
taking the
problem.
time. Hopefully this will be helpful to you if you're moving from Houston
Yes.
or anywhere.
Yeah.
So thanks, man.
No problem.